This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather and Connie Chung.
And good evening. Dan and Connie are on assignment this evening. I'm Deborah Norville reporting from New York. There is late breaking news from the state of Washington where another disaster has hit the Fairchild Air Force Base in Spokane. A home video camera was rolling when something went terribly wrong and a giant B-52 airplane barreled into the ground and exploded in flames late this afternoon. First reports indicate there were 4 people on board the B-52. No word yet officially on casualties. This is the second tragedy to hit the base this week. On Monday, a disgruntled former airman went on a shooting rampage, killing several people and wounding more than 20. And in Los Angeles, the legal fortunes of O.J. Simpson took a stunning turn in court today. A judge dismissed the grand jury that was considering a murder indictment against Simpson. It now appears that the preliminary hearing favored by Simpson's defense will go forward late next week. Correspondent Bill Whitaker tells us why this happened and what it could mean for both sides.
In court today, Simpson's attorney made an unusual emergency motion to dismiss any grand jurors hearing evidence in the case who had been prejudiced by the flood of pretrial publicity. Simpson joined him in the courtroom as Judge Cecil J. Mills removed all 23 grand jurors from the case.
And in the interests of fairness and justice to all involved, the court has ordered recusal of the 1993-94 grand jury from further consideration of this matter.
The defense was elated.
We're very pleased Judge Mills agreed with our position and our motion. We have a lot of work to do before the preliminary hearing on Thursday.
Prosecutors called the judge's decision fair.
He met out of a concern for the fairness and justice in this particular case.
Shapiro told the court the public had been hit with a barrage of false or misleading reports, like the non-existent bloody ski mask. He called prosecutors' pretrial comments unconscionable.
But I can tell you that this was a domestic violence killing.
And he decried the release of the sensational 911 tapes. Now the decision whether to indict Simpson likely will be made not in the secrecy of the grand jury room, but in open court in a preliminary hearing Thursday.
And it points out how unfair this process has been in trial by media, and maybe it'll stop the prosecution in the future from doing this.
All of this comes as both sides try to get a grip on the most highly publicized case in recent memory. After the 911 tapes hit the press like a bombshell, even the DA said enough.
I am now trying to put a lid on this from my position.
Some legal observers fear the potential jury pool already has been influenced by all the information which may ultimately be determined inadmissible when this case finally does go to trial. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Los Angeles.
There's no question this case is unprecedented in the history of American criminal law. And with us to help sort out these latest developments is a former federal prosecutor, Lori Levinson, now a professor at Loyola Law School in Los Angeles. Professor, does this decision today mean that the next legal order of business will be that preliminary hearing set for next Thursday?
That's correct. On June 30th, they will have to go by preliminary hearing because they don't have a fair grand jury to hear the case.
A lot of people were saying this is an important victory for the Simpson defense in this case. How important is it for the defense?
Well, I'm not sure that ultimately this victory today will affect the outcome of the case. It was an embarrassment for the prosecution because the defense had been asking for an open preliminary hearing. But there may be a windfall for the prosecution here, because now they can present to the public in an open, proper court proceeding all of their damaging evidence.
This was certainly a surprise today. At this point, are there possible surprises during the preliminary hearing process that wouldn't have been expected otherwise?
Well, we have had many surprises in this case, and we could see more. At the preliminary hearing, the defense will have an opportunity to cross-examine the prosecution's witnesses, make motions to suppress evidence that they think were illegally obtained, and even to raise some defenses. So ultimately, they could ask for the case to be dismissed.
One of the reasons the grand jury was dismissed today, some jurors apparently tainted by the pretrial publicity. Is it possible to get a fair trial in light of this development now? Everyone else has seen the publicity as well.
Well, that's the question that's being asked. But frankly, I think it is fair to get a fair jury if you wait a while. You have to let the public calm down, the media coverage calm down, and then question the jurors very carefully to see if they've made up their mind.
Lori Levinson, as always, our thanks to you for being with us from Los Angeles.
Thank you.
Other news this evening: in May of 1989, of course 4 years after they were married, O.J. Simpson pleaded no contest to charges of beating his wife, Nicole Brown Simpson. In the view of many observers, Simpson's punishment in that case fell short of fitting the crime. And to some, the chance at a successful intervention was squandered then. Correspondent John Blackstone has that part of the Simpson story.
This is where O.J. Simpson performed community service as part of his sentence in 1989 for beating his wife, Nicole.
She had bruises all over her face, she had a cut lip, she had a hand mark and scratches on her neck. I think he punched her, slapped her, and kicked her.
For part of his punishment, Simpson went golfing. He spent his 120 hours of community service organizing a celebrity tournament. The event, including a black tie dinner the Simpsons attended together, raised $100,000 for children with cancer. But it didn't entirely satisfy the judge.
I wanted him to do community service, not what he liked, but something that would be considered as a punishment.
Simpson was ordered to perform another 32 hours of community service. Prosecutors in the case say they wanted him to go to jail.
We still feel that jail was an appropriate sentence in an '89 incident. We weren't asking for a lengthy jail sentence, but enough to get Mr. Simpson's attention.
Prosecutors say the judge wasn't tough enough. The judge insists the prosecutors never told him they wanted jail time. But there are no transcripts of lengthy discussions in the judge's chambers. And while both prosecutor and judge are finger-pointing now, it's clear there's one person who did not want the case to go forward. Nicole Simpson herself.
She did make a comment to me, which was, I don't want to get him into trouble, but I want the beatings to stop.
Lisa Fox was assigned by the city attorney's office to help Nicole.
She did intimate to me that pressure was being brought to bear, that the children would suffer. They would be stigmatized if the case came out in the public.
He's got endorsements that he may lose. He has a possible career in broadcasting which may be jeopardized. Those are tremendous pressures on the woman.
Nicole Simpson wanted to drop the charges. The prosecution pushed forward.
The victim doesn't want to prosecute. Obviously, the defendant doesn't want this case prosecuted. The judge says you're just tying up the court. Why are you bothering us with this case?
It is a familiar situation in cases of wife beating.
I don't think domestic violence has ever been given credence as a real legal problem. It's something that, quote unquote, should be settled in the home.
While O.J. Simpson may have received some special consideration, what some find most shocking about the case is that it is all too typical. John Blackstone, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, inside Haiti just hours before the United States cranks up new and tougher sanctions. Plus, the president's newest campaign, defending his programs and attacking his critics.
What's going on?
If you buy a Honda Accord DX for over $14,000, chances are you'll find a few things missing. Like this. That's right. That 14 grand Accord DX doesn't even come with a radio, not to mention all this other stuff. Unlike the Achieva Special Edition from Oldsmobile, which has all that and more for only $13,995. No problem. It's your money.
Now you can get something extra from One-A-Day. Introducing One-A-Day Extras, a line of high-quality individual supplements of vitamin C, vitamin E, an antioxidant formula, and garlic. Get your extras every day from One-A-Day.
Tears of pain, tears of joy. But when your eyes are dry, soothe them with the tears of Murine. Closer to your own tears than other leading eye drops or artificial tears. Murine, natural tears formula.
The military rulers of Haiti are under new pressure tonight, with the country cut off from its most important link with the outside world. President Clinton has banned all U.S. commercial airline flights to Haiti as of midnight. Correspondent Giselle Fernandez is in Port-au-Prince.
In a rush to leave the island, hundreds of Haitians and Americans today jammed the airport to catch the last flights out to America. Many arrived hours before the flight and stood in long lines, carrying out as many belongings as they could. Joe Danek, a volunteer with the Catholic Church, had to beat the deadline to get 2 Haitian-American orphans to the United States. While sad to go, he said he can do more for Haiti at home.
That's where the work is now. Here you can't do anything because the fear of being shot at, murdered.
The closing of 2 American banks also had Haitians lining up outside the gates. Guards armed with automatic weapons told those holding checks and needing cash their accounts were frozen. In the financial district, Haitian businessmen called the new sanctions aimed at them racist. They say they have no influence over military coup leaders.
They still have influence on the military, and they have more motivation right now than they've ever had in the past 3 years to try to use that influence.
While the U.S. clamps down, Haiti's military is stepping up the propaganda war by trying to play up the threat of a U.S. invasion. Throughout the capital, the army is setting up roadblocks like this one around key government buildings, trying to create a siege mentality.
The government is already cracking down on journalists. Today, police arrested CBS and CNN camera crews videotaping the last planes taking off. Authorities released the crews after consulting with the regime's highest officials. At the port, more signs of just how hard it is to escape the crisis. Another heartbreaking homecoming for refugees who were denied political asylum. Their dream of getting to America was shattered as the last planes to the U.S. flew north. Giselle Fernandez, CBS News, Port-au-Prince.
President Clinton has raised the threat of U.S. military invention in Haiti, but a new CBS News poll shows most Americans do not favor an invasion. Asked if the United States should send in ground troops to remove the military and restore democracy, 2/3 said no. Only 27% said they approve of President Clinton's handling of the situation in Haiti. Back here at home, the Federal Reserve opened its wallet today to buy up U.S. dollars and try to reverse the dollar's plunge against other major currencies. But after a brief rally, the dollar continued to slide. There are fears the Fed's next move will be another hike in interest rates. And worries about the dollar and interest rates drove prices on Wall Street down more than 62 points.
Get this. You'd have to eat 7 slices of whole wheat toast to equal the fiber in just 1 bowl of Kellogg's All-Bran Extra Fiber. Kellogg's All-Bran, first on fiber.
Sick and tired of your dirty old wood? Introducing Thompson's Deck Wash. Just spray it on dirt, mildew, mold, and dingy gray and wash away the years. Your beat-up old wood looks young again. Thompson's Deck Wash. Let Thompson's do your dirty work.
To make sure every part of every Maytag refrigerator is absolutely dependable, our engineers spend day after day testing part after part for durability and performance. Over and over and over again, making theirs the second most boring job at Maytag. Maytag, the dependability people.
Yeah, me too. We got soda, OJ, purple stuff, and 2 kinds of Sunny D. 2 kinds. All right.
Some kids love the rich and tangy taste of original Sunny Delight. Others go for the lighter texture and smoother orange taste of California style. Moms love the vitamins in both.
Hey, your mom is cool. Yeah, I know.
Sunny Delight, the good stuff kids go for.
How do you dare call me self-involved? Why do you sound so accusatory?
Barbara Streisand turns the tables on Mike Wallace, Sunday on 60 Minutes. This colonel was entrusted with secrets in the war on drugs. But get this, his brothers are drug smugglers. Eye on America investigates Monday on the CBS Evening News.
President Clinton was out campaigning today for public support for key parts of his domestic agenda, now stalled in Congress. Mr. Clinton also took aim at some of his critics on the air and on the right, and he named names. We have 2 reports, starting with White House correspondent Rita Braver.
President Clinton visited St. Louis today to push his crime bill, but his major message was one of frustration at the news media, the religious right, and talk show hosts. He accused them of creating a mood of cynicism.
We are constantly being told that we can't make a difference. If you talk about hope, you're derided as being naive. If you're really good at bad-mouthing people, you can get a radio talk show.
The theme began when President Clinton participated in a radio talk show from aboard Air Force One. He singled out conservative talk show host Rush Limbaugh and Reverend Jerry Falwell, who's produced a videotape attacking the president.
I have strong religious convictions myself, but that is very different. That is very different from what is going on. When people come into the political system and they say that anybody that doesn't agree with them is godless.
And citing his recent visit to the USS George Washington, the president lashed out at news reports he claims are false. For example, those suggesting White House staffers might have taken towels and robes from the ship. The president said there were many other visitors, including reporters.
The George Washington is very, very upset by the press reports that those towels, which were obviously taken as souvenirs, were taken by all the White House staff. They never said that we stole anything. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
Staffers said the president did not plan these remarks in advance, but that attacks he considers unfair have been on his mind. In addition, the outburst comes at a time when some of the president's key programs, including the crime bill and health reform, are struggling in Congress. Rita Braver, CBS News at the White House.
We did it the other way.
This is Linda Douglas on Capitol Hill. After negotiating for weeks, some politically moderate senators today announced they've finally come up with a bipartisan compromise on health care.
We got a deal. With everybody? All aboard.
It may be a deal, but a small one at best. Just a few senators came forward to support it. The plan would increase health coverage nationwide, but falls short of the president's bottom line goal of guaranteed insurance for everyone, universal coverage.
Our goal, ultimately, of course, is universal coverage. But if that is not able to be achieved, then we seek to cover as many as possible.
Under the so-called moderates plan, low-income people would receive government subsidies to buy insurance, paid for by reductions in Medicare and Medicaid, a tobacco tax, and a tax on insurance companies that offer expensive plans. The goal would be to cover 95% of the population. If that goal was not reached by the year 2002, a commission would recommend different solutions. Congress could then act or do nothing.
I think clearly this is a problem that we have concluded needs a gradual solution, one that this Congress and future Congresses will continue to work on reaching an ultimate solution.
The proposal was immediately denounced by advocates for health reform, unions, and senior citizen groups.
This latest proposal is a lowest common denominator. It won't work for the American people. It's not universal coverage.
Liberal senators don't like this plan, but they say at least it moves the process forward. Reaction to the plan has been merely polite. Republican leaders will unveil their proposal next week. Linda Douglas, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
U.S. Surgeon General Joycelyn Elders is at the center of another storm. Almost 90 House Republicans have sent a letter to President Clinton calling for Elders' resignation. Among other things, they cite her strong support of birth control and her suggestion that legalizing narcotics ought to be considered. Stay with us for more of the CBS Evening News coming up, including the war that swept Korea in the 50s and still isn't settled today.
Have you tried multigrain Cheerios?
I don't think so. Probably heavy and dense.
It's light and crunchy. It's 4 kinds of O's.
Kind of sweet? Multigrain Cheerios.
I like it.
I knew she would.
Of all your auto care choices, only one lets you earn up to 10% toward a new GM vehicle. Your GM dealer. Because only your GM dealer is a member of the GM MasterCard's new Accelerated Earnings Network, which helps you get a new car or truck.
By the end of the week, 7 more lives will be saved. By the end of the day, 16 people who couldn't walk will. By the end of the hour, these special filters will help make 25,000 more gallons of water ready for drinking. And by the end of this message, 1 more premature baby will be protected. All of which is made possible with the help of a material we call plastic.
To a leak. If you have rust in your water, you could end up with clogged pipes, which could lead to bigger problems. Don't wait for rust to strike. Use Diamond Crystal Red Out, the water softener salt pellets that remove rust from your water. Red out pellets from Diamond Crystal, because a little rust can do a lot of damage.
First there was the movie. Now there's the card game. The Maverick High Stakes card game at Comfort Inns, Hotels, and Suites.
Pick a card.
You could win one of over 6 million prizes.
A GMC Sonoma truck.
Or you could win the grand prize, $1 million.
The next person who sees this million is the winner.
Call 1-800-4CHOICE to reserve your room at Comfort, where every card's a winner.
It has the largest galleries and 3 of the toughest finishing holes on the PGA Tour. Join the crowd at the Canon Greater Hartford Open this weekend on CBS.
French troops moved deeper into Rwanda today on a mission to protect civilians from tribal slaughter. They took up positions around a refugee camp where people from the minority Tutsi tribe have been living in fear of government-backed militia. France has vowed not to take sides in the fighting, despite its past support for the government. Officials from the United States and North Korea met in New York today to set up a new round of high-level talks next month in Geneva. They're trying to solve the impasse over North Korea's nuclear weapons program and head off a new Korean war. All of this comes the day before the anniversary of the Korean conflict that began in 1950. Correspondent James Hattori in Seoul looks back.
It was a war that took the world by surprise. The North Koreans had overrun the city of Seoul in just 4 days. At one point, they controlled most of the Korean peninsula. By the time it ended in a stalemate 3 years later, 4 million had been killed or wounded. 50,000 Americans had given their lives.
This was the line drawn in the sand to stop communism and the spread of it in Asia.
U.S. veterans who defended that line returned to Korea this week. For some, it was the first time back to a place they so strongly associated with the horrors of war.
Once I got here and saw the people and the faces, it all vanished. And I said, well, they did it for a good reason.
They toured the border village of Panmunjom, where the armistice was signed, and where today the stalemate has turned nuclear. For most Americans, the Korean War is just a vague memory, the stuff of museums and history books. But for the veterans who witnessed the carnage and lived to tell about it, there's still a very real sense of having left unfinished business.
As far as a clear-cut victory, we didn't obtain a victory. It was a stalemate, and subsequently it was settled, but not completely.
And now?
And it's still surfacing.
The man who started the war, Kim Il-sung, is still there, but the politics have changed. He has no allies likely to join a battle now.
With the destruction that I've seen and all the last time, and I wouldn't want anybody to go through that again.
Tonight, veterans of the United Nations forces were awarded peace medals. Thank you. By a country still negotiating a permanent peace. James Hattori, CBS News, Seoul.
Still ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, Eye on America. Tonight, the gay rights movement in 1994. More public, more pride.
Any kids around there, Jane?
Sorry, Billy, not your age.
A little earlier, Jane Stewart was troubled with arthritis pain, so she took a Motrin IB. The same Motrin doctors have prescribed for years, but in non-prescription strength. And just one Motrin IB is as effective as 2 regular aspirin.
All right, kid. Let's see what you got.
And Jane?
Come on.
Motrin IB, the relief of Motrin in non-prescription strength. Now available in a new, easy-to-open, fast-cap package.
This isn't the surface of some strange, lifeless planet. It's the surface of a dining room table. Dry, parched, unprotected, thirsty for Scott's Liquid Gold. Liquid Gold penetrates, moisturizes, hides scratches, and restores the beauty of all your fine wood furniture, paneling, and cabinets. Scott's Liquid Gold simply makes wood beautiful, no matter how you look at it.
Imagine you just stepped on the accelerator of an Eldorado touring coupe with a North Star system by Cadillac. Suddenly you passed 60 miles per hour, and as you quickly approach 100 miles per hour, you're wondering, is this really a Cadillac? Of course, you wouldn't really do this because you're not a professional test driver on a closed track. But if you were, you could approach 150 miles per hour. The Eldorado touring coupe with the North Star system by Cadillac, creating a higher standard.
Can't sleep?
I got the munchies.
What, the crunchies?
Harvest Crisps!
Great Harvest grain taste for your munchies.
Even baked in crunchies.
Let's go back to bed.
Crumbs in the sheets?
Wild man.
Crunchy, delicious Harvest Crisps. I love them.
Get this. You'd have to eat 5 large shredded wheat biscuits to equal the fiber in just 1 bowl of Kellogg's All-Bran Extra Fiber. Kellogg's All-Bran, first on fiber.
Here in New York this weekend, thousands of gays and lesbians will mark the end of the International Gay Games, and thousands more will march openly for gay rights and gay pride. It wasn't always that way for gays in this country. It started to change 25 years ago at a place called Stonewall. Correspondent Anthony Mason examines a little-known chapter of history and how it happened for tonight's Eye on America.
For gays, it was a spectacular show of pride. The opening of the Gay Games in New York City, kicking off an extraordinary week in which gays are celebrating both their strength and their history.
It's a great tribal gathering, and people are celebrating who they are.
They are figure skaters skating in the first same-sex pairs competition. Olympic diver Greg Louganis, formally coming out at the Games. 11,000 athletes from 43 countries marched in the opening ceremonies. But for gays, another parade in New York this weekend may be even more significant.
This Sunday, at least 500,000 people are expected to march to commemorate what happened here 25 years ago in this small Greenwich Village bar called Stonewall.
The Stonewall had about 70 customers when police raided it early in the morning of June 27, 1969. For the first time, gays decided to fight back.
I was taken out here by...
Williamson Henderson was one of those arrested that night when a policeman tried to take him to the paddy wagon.
I went that way. He grabbed and pulled me down right there. He did a drop kick to me on the side like this.
3 cops hurt as bar raid riles crowd, the headline read. For 5 days, gays rioted in Greenwich Village.
Well, it really was the spark that turned the small-scale civil rights movement into a mass-based liberation movement.
The very word Stonewall became a rallying cry.
At the New York Public Library, a new exhibition chronicles the legacy of Stonewall. At Carnegie Hall this week, the gay men's choruses of New York, Los Angeles, and Seattle honored the gay rights movement's flashpoint. The Gay Games are part of Stonewall's legacy. New York City has welcomed them without protest. Governor Mario Cuomo played point guard in an exhibition basketball game, and companies like AT&T and Miller have signed on as sponsors. But even as gays celebrate how far the gay rights movement has come since Stonewall, many believe they have much farther to go.
Some days I feel very pessimistic. I don't know how much further we can push the limits of tolerance.
But here this week, the gay movement has never seemed more out in the open. In New York, I'm Anthony Mason for Eye on America.
And that's the news this evening. Bob Schieffer will be here tomorrow, and I'll be back with you Sunday night. For Dan and Connie and all of us at CBS News, I'm Deborah Norville. Thank you for watching, and have a great weekend.
Experience CBS News. This is CBS.